We have a slight change in the program. Right now we'll have a talk from Mike Butcher on the trends and ecosystems, and the founder and co-founder and the CEO of EPAM, Arkady Dobkin, he's joining us. He's coming from another event, so we'll have that. After that we will have 4 startup pitches, 6 of them will come in the afternoon. In between the 2 parts we will have lunch, so it's, we will be meeting back at 2 o'clock, so you can take time to network and to talk. We're ready to start the presentation now, and in the evening we will have a networking dinner at the Cafe Netto, and from what I was told, you're still able to buy a ticket to join the dinner. They will be selling tickets, I think, still until lunchtime, so in case you want to join and to network, you're able to spend like an enjoyable evening in a cozy atmosphere, speaking to personally to everyone who is presenting today from the stage. So take an opportunity, go into the hall and get your entrance ticket to the networking dinner tonight. However, right now I see that Mike is ready, presentation is starting up. Mike, please share with us everything that you know and everything that you have collected from around the globe.
No problem, I'll just download my brain, simple. Okay, so this is a clicker, right? Right, okay. Hello everyone. Right, before I get going, I've just been to South Korea where they're really into selfies. So I thought I'd do a selfie with you guys. Are you okay? Are you ready? You can tag each other on Facebook. Okay, right. Okay, we're going to do 3. We'll do this corner first, right? You've got to do the Mike Butcher like that with the glass. Okay, ready? And go. 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay, next one. Middle. Ready? Smile. Okay, and last one. Ready? Smile. Hello from Minsk. Right. That's just a bit of fun. Okay. Let's do this. Right. I'm going to do. Where's somebody can time keep? Tanya, can you make sure what time I'm? Give me like 5 minutes, right towards the end. Okay, right, this is all my you guys can't read this. Oh shit. You guys over here have got a problem because the big sign is over there. Okay, so you're gonna have to like strain it. Okay, you'll be okay. Somebody take pictures and then share it with those guys. Okay, okay, collaborative. Meerkat. Or Periscope. Periscope. Actually, I think Periscope is better. Quality is better. Anyway, right. So here's my information. I am, as somebody pointed out, editor-at-large. That is a weird job title, but who cares? I don't care. I love it. You can connect with me on all these platforms. Generally, Twitter is a really good one if you want to reach out to me. LinkedIn, I never use. I think it's full of spam. It's a pain in the ass. But you can connect with me there if you like. Facebook I usually use for people I get drunk with in bars, which is great. There's my old-fashioned blog, which I don't use much. My email address is mikebutcher@techcrunch.com. I'm now using an app called Wicker, which is a secret app, which is very secure, which means you can send me lots of secret information, and I get a shitload of emails. So sorry about that. But if you put Minsk! Exclamation mark in the subject line, then I'll know that you saw me in Minsk. Okay. Right. How do we build an ecosystem, right? How the hell do we do this? How do we create global companies that come from anywhere? We're going to have to run around, like you're over here, and this is a wide stage. Silicon Valley looks like this. It's one big cluster. You can drive up and down the 101 highway, and you can meet just about anybody you need to meet. It's very, very useful. And obviously, it took 50 years for this to develop, from the development of the atomic bomb to the creation of Fairchild's semiconductor. Can somebody bring me a water, by the way, or throw me a water? Right, one from over there. That'd be good. And they operate in this. It's one big market, one big fat juicy market. And in the case of America, that first of those words applies very well. Anyway, and we look like this. This is a mess. Look at this. Total mess. Thousands of years old, hundreds of countries, tons of different languages, different cultures, different everything. So it's difficult, right? So we've got a bit of a problem. We've got to figure this out. So, what are we going to do? Okay. And I've been travelling around this for the last few years, and now I'm doing a bit more in Asia as well. So we can't build another Silicon Valley. We've got to build silicon bridges. We've got to build bridges between our ecosystems. That means we've got to get on planes, we've got to run around, and we've got to create connections. Where's Max? Max Gerbert's here. He's an investor. He gets on planes. He basically spends most of his time on planes because he builds the ecosystem with his network. And that's how European entrepreneurs create the networks, okay? Yeah, and in this part of the world, in CIS and in Asia, that's how we have to do this. We have to build these bridges. So, does anybody know who this guy is? It's unusual. So, this guy's actually quite famous in the Valley. His name is Loïc Lemeur. He is French. And he built a company called Seismic. And Seismic was an early video startup. Nobody remembers it because it was so early, it basically failed. But that company was not built in Silicon Valley. Anyone know where it was built? It was built in Romania. But nobody cared because the product was what it was all about. Not where it was built, but who built it and where they were doing the business. And every time I saw Loïc, I said, how's your Romanian startup going, Loïc? And he would go, you stupid British person. Yeah, you are full of the jokes. Yeah, you think you are funny. I said, yeah, I am. So it doesn't matter, okay? So think about product above everything. Of course, people are important. One of the big secrets about the technology industry is that people are incredibly important. Because if you can't, smile. If you can't tell a story about what you're doing, then nobody will understand what you're doing. So you have to be communicative, etc. But product is important, right? Get the product right. Now, get some traction. Get some users. Yesterday I saw some pictures from Tech Minsk at the I Am a Guru startup hub. Cool name, huh? I am a guru. And the guy said, I said to a guy, when he did the pitch, how many users do you have? He said, 70. I was like, 70? Why the hell did you just tell me that? I don't want to know. I don't want to know that that means you've got no traction at all. So what you want to do is try and get some traction. If you don't have traction, don't tell me how many users you've got. Get some traction, get some users. That might be in your home market. Here in Belarus, you might actually know how to crack this market, so get some cracking going on. Do that, get some traction. Don't just build a product, get traction. Work out, iterate. Launch the product, work out what's failing, iterate, get more. So often you get traction by doing a niche, right? In a particular niche, it might be enterprise, it might be health, it might be in the guy over there who's doing fashion technology, right? Aim for a niche. Aim for something that you think you can hit. Maybe a market that you know, right? And startups are very much about communication. You have to be able to present. We, as visitors to Minsk, will probably be going a lot about how you pitch. Because if you can't pitch, you can't explain your product. Therefore, if I can't understand your product, we're not going to get anywhere. And you have to be able to cover off what is the product, what does it do, who is it aimed at, what's next. Have you got users, have you got traction, things like that. So I am Mike Butcher. My product is TechCrunch. I have 15 million readers a month. and it's aimed at technology geeks and startups. One sentence. One sentence. Get that sentence down, repeat it in front of the bathroom mirror, tell yourself you're a god while you're doing it, and then you'll get some confidence and you'll be able to communicate what you're doing. So you need to have about 3 pitches. You need to have 1 sentence pitch, a 30-second pitch, like they call it the elevator pitch, because people do it in and out as they're going up, and you're trapped in the elevator with the investor, and you need to do a 3-minute pitch as well, with slides, usually. So, sentence, 1 minute, 3 minutes. Tell a story. Like I said before on the panel here, you know, just saying I've got an app that helps you work out and get fitter is not as good as, why do you feel tired? Why does everyone here feel tired? It's because we're not healthy. We need to understand that we can get healthy through technology, right? Engage people, tell a story. Get on a plane, get out there, network amongst wherever you want to go. Get on a plane and go around Belarus. Get on a plane, go around the CIS countries. Get on a plane, come and visit me in London. Get on a plane, because we need to create a big network. Right, let's raise some money. So this is going to be like very, very cut out and keep. Feel free to take pictures. So, how are we going to do this? Right, over here is you. You've got an idea. You own 100% of your company. Yay! But you've got to own 100% of the company, but you need money to make the product big. You need a team. Let's move on. You get a co-founder. You split up. Your co-founder now owns 37.5% of the company. You own 37.5%. Your uncle, or your auntie, or your mum, or your dad, just put some money in. Your university money. They now own 5% of the company. And you have an option pool of 20%. So you keep that option pool open for other investors when your company starts building traction, right? Next, this is now, we're in a seed zero. This is getting a seed round. That means you've raised a few $100,000, something like that. And then you get to Series A, and you start breaking it up. You and your co-founders remain equal, but you build up an option pool for other investors. It's a bit, get out and focus. It's a bit, just a big one. Okay. We need to make this sort of face this. You've got angel investors with 10%. You've got a first employee, and this is part of the reason why ecosystems have been built in Silicon Valley, is because they reward people for the company that they're building. Not just a salary, but ownership of the company, okay? They have ownership. Your first employee, your first like rock star engineer now owns equity and shares in the company. And you now have 30%, which is you're given over to a Series A investor. Next up, so that's like a bigger split, a bigger sort of slide there, basically showing up. And of course, hopefully you're going to raise a lot of money and be successful. Now, this is down here, it's another graph. You've got the valley of death. This is where many companies are right now. You've got making no money at all, you're having to raise money. You hit break even, you get first round of funding, early stage, second, third, mezzanine, IPO, etc., etc. You're bigger than Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, it sounds easy, right? Not really. That's why entrepreneurs are very interesting people, because they do what's hard. But that is the typical stage. Okay, take a picture. 1, 2, 3, and... Right, so you've got to use the tools as much as you possibly can to get to there. Now you've got to, all these tools are free. AngelList, should be on AngelList, you should be on Crunchbase, which is owned by TechCrunch. You can do crowd equity platforms to use that as a marketing platform. You need to use LinkedIn, you need to do Facebook, you need to Twitter, you need to do social networks. Don't just sit in your room thinking, how the hell am I going to promote my company? Use all these platforms because they're free, most of the time. Now, you want to go and raise some money. Here is a list of VC firms in Europe. You've got Index, Axel Balderson out of London. You've got Pentec in Paris, you've got Early Bird in Berlin, you've got North Zone in Denmark, etc., etc. Lifetime Ventures in Helsinki, in Moscow you have people like Runa Capital, guys like that. So there's lots and lots of people out there who want to fund your company. We've got accelerators all over the EU. Now, because we don't have a Silicon Valley, we have often accelerators are cool because they create a community and you get some early stage investment and it might get you a network, okay? You have to pick the ones that will work with you, but they're all over the place. Gamma Rebels in Poland, Startup Sauna in Helsinki, Wayras, Textiles in London, Le Camping, everything has to have a Le in Paris, right? Le Camping, Just Add Bread in London, Mind the Bridge in Italy, Tech Pizzas in Italy, Entrepreneur Burst in London. There's like explosion of accelerators, but pick ones that don't fuck you over, okay? So, I need the seed. Right, who are the seekers of lot? These guys do lots of seed funding, so lots of special seed funds now in Europe you can go to when you need seed funding. They've become more sophisticated, but typically what you want to do is you want to adopt ones that are the better known ones. Usually, the more high profile the investor, it typically means that it's because they've become successful and they have access to networks that other investors do not reach. So, now we've started hunting. That should be a bigger picture, shouldn't it, really? We've started gone hunting around Europe, and that's what investors want, because this is a region and a country and a continent full of startups now, but you guys are hard to find, so they've got to go and find you. How are they going to find you? Well, let's have a look. Clustering is super important. Investors need efficiency. They're busy people, and what they want to do is they want to sit down, they want to take 20 pitches in a day from a bunch of entrepreneurs and see who they think is cool. They don't want to have to travel millions of miles to see 20 companies. They want to see them all in one place. So clusters actually are super cool. Clusters mean that you can find a company from Ghana in Africa that I ended up putting on stage in TechCrunch Disrupt in San Francisco. Because they had a cluster called MEST, Meltwater Entrepreneurial School for Technology. So all I need to go, where do I find startups in Ghana? Go to this place, 20 startups, pitches, found one, took them to San Francisco. Super easy for me as a journalist, and also for the investors. So co-working is super cool. Oh look, I'm a Guru's down there. I'll put it in. These are the ones down there. You've got Tech Hub in London that I helped build, Trampree, Level 39, Gamma Rebels in Warsaw, Startup Yard in Prague, Berlin, Vita House, Ahoy Berlin. All these co-working spaces and incubators, useful, super useful. When you cluster, you create noise, and you get hype, and you get attention. Attention is super, super useful. This guy, Matt Biddulph, he made a bet that he couldn't get all of the startups in London, East London, in the press. So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll go to the press and say, look, we've got Silicon Roundabout. How about that? And the press went, oh, well, Silicon Valley, Silicon Roundabout, sounds similar. Story! Boom. So that was a great way of getting attention. So what is an ecosystem? You have entrepreneurs, you have startups, you have angel investors, VCs, mentors, accelerators, universities, corporates, journalists, and events like this. How do you meet people? How do you do hackathons? How do you teach engineers? How do you swap ideas between entrepreneurs? You have to meet each other in person. Now, what's an ecosystem does not include government. And I'll tell you why. Because governments usually fuck things up. They're not very good at making decisions about technology because they move too slowly. You are all in an industry which changes every week, right? Those guys are in an industry which changes every 5 years. Way too slow, or not at all, unfortunately. So what we've got those guys is to build incentives for entrepreneurs and incentives for investors, and then get that hell out of the way, right? London's tech startup cluster in 2009 is not very big. It looks a bit like Windows 95, doesn't it? But small acorns, it then grew up to like this and proliferated. So the biggest cluster was still in the east of London, and then it went all over the city. And then maps are really cool. If somebody could build a map of startups in Minsk, I would find that very interesting, because where you are is really, really interesting and cool. And then once you build a cluster, the bigger companies start to turn up, because they want talent, they want engineers, they want to make acquisitions, they want to find out where you all are, and that's what so they love these things, love clusters. These guys in London built a very cool thing where they just took one building and they put at the bottom there was co-working, the next floor was some small early stage startups, the next floor was investors. All under the one roof. Now this has happened all over the world. Here's Berlin, here's Mitte in Berlin, which used to be the East Berlin on the old, Soviet side, which actually turns out to be now the cool place in Berlin, right? And so you ended up with lots of startups there, and they all like clustering and hanging out with each other and playing basketball or ping pong or whatever. And it also happened in Paris. This is Silicon Santiago in Paris, and I love talking in a French accent, don't you? It's fun. Even though I'm really bad at it. Silicon Santiago, and these guys went, look, we're going to hang out. Typical Paris, typical France. Some government official said, oh, you cannot be. What are you doing over there? You must be in La Défense, where all the big companies are. No, screw that. They want to hang out with each other. And of course we can map this. Wi-Fi, coffee, startups. Fantastic. And networking. This is the kind of thing that we do in London. Lots and lots of meetups, hang out with each other, pictures, blah, blah, blah. Just like at Technics. There's Dennis Crowley from Foursquare, a bunch of British entrepreneurs as well, all hanging out to each other. Because the entrepreneurs like to meet other entrepreneurs. So when we do this again, in a year's time, or I come back to Minsk and we do a meetup or something, I can bring entrepreneurs and I can say, this is where we're all going to hang out and you're going to meet some entrepreneurs, okay? It'd be super cool. So clusters are great. Oops. No, I can't see that. Okay. So why are clusters cool? Because startups are sexy. Oh yeah, you are sexy. You're so sexy, that you guys are ending up in the newspapers and magazines. Now, who thought that men with beards would now be in magazines? What the hell is going on? Okay, admittedly, those guys are quite sexy. But geeks in fashion magazines, geeks all over the place. This is a picture of Tech Hub, thing that I co-founded. Tech Hub, which is a co-working space in London. We've got everyone hanging out, doing their thing, the usual kind of startup stuff. So, connecting with London, when you want to do that, you get the events. I'm doing an event in London called Europa's in June. We've got co-working spaces, investors, media, and use social media to connect. Find out the people, follow me, ask me who's to follow in London, and I'll send you out on Twitter. You can use the media. In the media in London and Europe, we've got very, very sophisticated number of technology outfits now, so you can contact those journalists. And of course, once you want to get that attention, you're going to get your TechCrunch of initiation, like that, and then nothing, nothing, because TechCrunch does not solve your problems. You get traction, you might get some downloads, but it doesn't solve your problem. If you come up to me and say, I want a post on TechCrunch, I think that that's stupid. It means what you need is you want your product to be amazing, and then you might get coverage, and then because you have coverage, that's going to help, but it doesn't solve all your problems. Okay? Just remember that. But you, by the way, you can pitch me, that's okay. Now, get your camera phones and then take a picture of this. This is how to pitch media and how to network. How to network in an ecosystem is super important. How to introduce yourself, how to behave. It's really, really useful information. Okay? And go on. So what's the hard bit? Talent, engineers. Everybody's going to get them, the mums and dads and the grannies and the uncles and the aunties and the kids coding. You've got to do that. You need risk capital. You need favourable government policy. You need growth funds. You need a vibrant and productive path to exits. You need to work out how you're going to exit the company, because startups are very much about exiting at some point, not flipping, but exiting. And you need mafias. No, not the Italian mafia, but groups of founders who have exited and then go on to make new companies and then invest in new companies themselves. And then you repeat. So now, that was like my educational bit about how you build ecosystems. Now let's talk about some tech trends. So, health and technology. Now, I'm being pitched loads of health apps now for Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch is now creating a vast new ecosystem for startups. That's going to parlay into lots of interesting companies over the next few years. In fact, loads and loads of predictions are being made about health technology. So we have, many in Western, we have aging societies. So aging societies need to have health technology in terms of robotics, in terms of body monitoring and things like that. So that's a big sector that's happening right now. Wearables, of course, and over 30% of the wearables market will be smartwatches. So the apps on smartwatches then become very significant as a result. 5 minutes, yeah. Okay, nearly done. As I said, smartwatches. Get into those. Now, what else? Live video streaming, that's very hot right now. You've got open and closed video streaming platforms. Now, what you've got to remember, the platforms that you build your apps on, your startups, your whatever it is, cloud, those platforms are there for you as startups to then hopefully create your own platforms. The most successful entrepreneurs and startups are ones that create their own ecosystems of other apps. So if you build something that other startups and other engineers can leverage, then you create your own ecosystem and then you can start controlling it and doing interesting things. Now, key tech trends are things like privacy. We're all worried about privacy right now. I commend a couple of apps to you. You should download Zendo and FireChat, because privacy is now a big deal. So that's actually an opportunity for entrepreneurs, right? So download those apps, check them out. Zendo and FireChat. Virtual augmented reality, of course, is also coming back. We've got Oculus Rift. So that's a platform for virtual reality, for gaming, for health, for industrial design, for real estate, you name it. Mobile. Startups that don't have a mobile strategy or apps, I kind of wonder about. I don't understand, because that interface, the mobile interface and the tablet interface, is basically so mainstream it's taking over from the desktop now. Mobile payments, of course, huge. Connected homes, connected devices, the Internet of Things, these are also big trends. So building hardware and software apps that connect so you can control your home, control your car, these kinds of things. Speaking of cars, what's going on? Cars are now computers on wheels. They're new platforms for app developers and for startups. Apple was literally building Project Titan, which could be a car or could be a platform for car apps. And we're all familiar with the trend in potential driverless cars, driverless trucks, etc. This is going to have a big effect on society. Some other things, so Wi-Fi inside stores, so Internet of Things in stores, biosecurity, e-commerce on demand, drones in the emerging world, drones for agriculture, drones for architecture, drone platforms, drone software. Google Glass failed, sorry Google, but it'll be back in the enterprise, and Google Glass will actually probably end up being incredibly amazing technology enterprise, for when you're working on an aeroplane or something like that. And for surgery, health, for instance. 3D printing still hasn't taken off very much. What else we got? I said Internet of Things, of course, making your home smarter. And the sharing economy. So, Uber doesn't own cars, Airbnb doesn't own accommodation. Lastly, humans. You guys are a platform, you're a trend. So body hacking, transhumanism, smart drugs, did I say drugs? Extended longevity, implants, things that track your health. So if anyone's ever seen a movie called Gattaca, that's fascinating, isn't it? Because actually it's kind of a vision of the future about how technology can augment you. For instance, Google's come up with this thing called a smart lens, which can measure the amount of glucose in your body. And of course, once you start doing implants inside your body, the body has now become a platform. Imagine effectively one day you'll be going to an Apple retail store and saying, I would like implant number 2, please. Yeah, is that the gold edition? Yeah, I'd like that, please. Can you just insert that, please, in my arm? It's an RFID tag. Lovely. Thank you very much. So this is going to create a whole new cloud of applications. And of course, artificial intelligence. In a way, it's algorithms on steroids, but artificial intelligence is really, really going to be big. And I kind of expect Mints to step up to the plate, because I've heard rumours about you guys that you're pretty shit hard at this stuff. So I'd like to see that coming out. And then about 60% of human work within the next 20 years will be entirely replaced by artificially intelligent machines, by robotics. So we've got to build a society that's going to be able to withstand that disruption. So, as you can tell, it's going to get more and more complicated. Yes, but Mike, how do you get on TechCrunch? Well, here's my absolute best advice. This is a whole separate speech on how you get on TechCrunch. So tweet that out under the hashtag, and I can do that as an entirely separate speech. But I can send it to you, BEL.BIZ.com, it's the 3rd post on the site. But of course the real way to get on TechCrunch is by putting a tattoo on your back. That's the simplest way. Anyway, so questions. There you go. Do you have questions, or am I running totally out of time?
We have time for a couple.
We have time for a couple. Okay, quick questions. There you go. He's all dumbfounded.
Hi, could you please tell something about Bitcoin? Because I think it's a rather big trend in the internet, and you didn't mention it. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's
cryptocurrencies, yeah, I know. I could go on all day about trends. Very good question. Bitcoin, fascinating. But Bitcoin, the era of Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin owning Bitcoin is coming to an end. The price has crashed, and now what people are doing is using the blockchain technology to build Bitcoin. The blockchain, if you don't understand Bitcoin, but just briefly, the blockchain is the ledger that works out where the coins are and what has happened in the system. So the blockchain is, because the blockchain is deeply encrypted, you can't fake it. So that is entirely disruptive. It means that contract law and lawyers might disappear. Yay! It means that you can use Bitcoin, you can use the blockchain platform to build apps to work out if a door has opened or closed, or if a car has moved from a space, or something like that. Anything. So this connected world of apps, blockchain technology, finance, artificial intelligence is actually incredibly interesting. And now there are startup accelerators being built entirely on blockchain. So you've got a financial startup accelerator in London that's just being sponsored by the Bank of England to look into blockchain technology and then financial tech, fintech. So absolutely key chain. And in emerging markets, Bitcoin and blockchain technology is going to be fantastic for things like remittance, so getting someone to send money from overseas, because the blockchain can verify in an encrypted manner whether that transaction has taken place or not. So hopefully we get rid of a Western Union and all those bastards. Right. Okay. Anyone?
Here. I'd like to elaborate on the point you made on the 60% of work will be done by machines. I'd like to ask you, what do you think will be the main value of humans in this case, and how this is going to impact management and business?
Well, we're sort of over. We'll just be replaced by technical machines, of course, and harvesting our bodies for energy. The real future really is us using technology to augment ourselves, right? That's the future. Now, if in management, for instance, you have to make a decision about a strategic direction, you would have, normally in the world right now, you would have a board meeting and make everybody to decide what our direction is going to go in. Really, where we're going now is you have the algorithm and the artificial intelligence that you use inside the company. They become almost another member of the board to make that decision. So they don't make the final decision because it's just a machine. But it's not just a machine. It's a machine that can compute and crunch data trillions of times a second and mean, therefore, that you get better data. So the marriage of big data, artificial intelligence, means that humans make better decisions, hopefully, right? Of course. Unfortunately, it means that menial jobs probably start to disappear. So now there's already a company, for instance, offering robotic chambermaids to go into hotels, and you just press the button and the robot goes up, changes the minibar, changes the sheets on the bed, leaves, goes back to its charging point, switches off, and that's it. And then all that hotel has to do is buy that robotic technology and then just run it, okay? So the same thing will happen with trucks and with taxis. Even though they don't go very quickly right now, they will get quicker and quicker and more intelligent. So that society is going to happen. Yeah. Any other questions? One there.
Just a follow-up question to that. What do you think would be the next big thing in terms of essentially the changes you just mentioned, replacement of labor? I read that in the next couple 10 to 15 years there's going to be more jobs, new types of jobs created than there exists.
Yeah. So the reason we can be optimistic is that the person who's driving a taxi right now, who's actually pretty intelligent, but can't get a job because they didn't have qualifications, or they went to the wrong university, or they're dyslexic, or they're actually a genius, and they can't read words, or whatever, they become more productive because the menial job doesn't exist, but they can actually augment themselves with their own technology. Most of the time, whenever you introduce a new technology, if it displaces one job, but creates three, yeah? Because whatever we're doing, we get exponentially better at it in particular sectors, and the growth comes from that new sector, not from the old sector. The old sector starts to disappear or wither away, or just become run by software, because as in the famous phrase is that software is eating the world, it's eating into our societies and our jobs, but it means that new jobs are created off the back of that software. So intelligent entrepreneurs, intelligent startups see opportunities and how to create new value in that respect. Okay?
Thank you very much. We have a great future ahead of doing exciting jobs and cutting on the routines. Thank you very much, Mike.